Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a company that is situated right in the heart of the Netherlands, but literally holds the keys to the modern world. We are, of course, talking about ASML. I mean, think about it. Without this absolutely indispensable powerhouse, there's no AI boom, no advanced smartphones, no next-generation computing, period. They are the ultimate bottleneck for global technology. So today, we're going to explore exactly why they hold so much power and how they're navigating a ridiculously complex global landscape. Here's a quick roadmap of what we're going to cover in this explainer. We'll look at the ultimate tech choke point, break down their record-setting financial growth, unpack the High-NA EUV breakthrough, neutrally examine the perceived threats from China, look at their expanding global footprint, and finally, discuss how they're securing the digital future. All right, kicking things off with Section 1, the ultimate tech choke point, the keys to the modern world. So the core premise here is actually pretty simple, but totally mind-blowing. Every single major technological leap happening today literally must pass through extreme ultraviolet or EUV lithography. Basically, these are the incredibly advanced, massively complex systems required to manufacture the most sophisticated semiconductor chips on the planet. And the big takeaway you need to know? ASML is the world's sole supplier of these EUV systems. They have an absolute, undisputed monopoly on the very technology that makes the entire AI revolution possible. Moving right along to Section 2, record-breaking financial growth, and their monumental Q2 in 2026. As you might guess, being the only game in town pays incredibly well. In Q2 of 2026, ASML reported total net sales of a staggering 9.3 billion euros. That massive number completely smashed analyst expectations. And it wasn't just raw sales either. They paired it with a rock-solid 54% gross margin and 2.9 billion euros in net income. What this tells us is that existing customers are heavily upgrading and expanding their ASML equipment, which proves demand is sustained and growing fast. And that translates directly into an incredible outlook for the future. ASML's CEO, Christophe Fouquet, actually upgraded their 2026 full-year revenue guidance. They bumped it up from a previous ceiling of 40 billion all the way to between 43 and 45 billion euros. That is a massive 16% guidance upgrade, and it's being relentlessly driven by ongoing AI-related investments and an incredibly strong order intake. Naturally, the market has taken notice. Following that earnings announcement, shares ticked up 1.7%. That contributes to an impressive 27% year-to-date growth, with shares closing near $1,800, specifically $1,799.38 in early August 2026. Plus, there was a 17% increase in their interim dividend. So ASML is pulling off this really tricky balancing act perfectly. They're rewarding shareholders handsomely, all while heavily reinvesting in massive capacity expansion. That perfectly sets up Section 3, the High-NA EUV breakthrough, scaling the unscalable. To really justify all that financial dominance, we have to talk about this huge announcement from July 15th. Intel Foundry officially entered high-volume manufacturing for their Intel Core Ultra Series 3 processors. You might know them under the codename Panther Lake. Now, the absolute key here is that they are using ASML's next-generation High-NA EUV technology on the Intel 18A process node. High-NA stands for high numerical aperture, and in plain English, it just allows for much smaller, denser transistors. This is the very first time a high-volume logic product has been shipped using this cutting-edge High-NA lithography. It's a game changer. Of course, there are years and years of heavy R&D behind a milestone like this. If we look back to 2024, we saw the first commercial High-NA EUV system integration happen at Intel's R&D site out in Oregon. That was followed up by the installation of the second-generation TwinScan system. Fast forward to 2026, and we've officially hit high-volume manufacturing. This completely validates all of ASML's research investments and basically proves to the entire industry that High-NA EUV is no longer just some theoretical concept, it is 100% production-ready. Let's turn our attention now to Section 4, Overblown Threats from China, a Geopolitical Shockwave. So, in late July 2026, some sudden market tension popped up regarding international trade. The tech outlet, The Information, reported that a state-backed Chinese consortium, Shanghai High-NA Electronic Technology Group, began mass production of domestic deep ultraviolet, or DUV, lithography machines. According to the reports, China plans to produce 5 of these domestic DUV machines in 2026 and ramp that up to around 20 by 2027. The immediate reaction from the market to this news was honestly quite severe. Roughly 60 billion euros in market value was just wiped out as ASML's stock dropped about 11%. To understand why investors panicked like that, you have to realize that China represented 29% of ASML's total net sales in 2025. That was roughly 9.5 billion euros. Now, all of that was associated with their older DUV machines, because export controls already block the advanced EUV tools from going there. But if we look at analysis from Reuters Breakingviews, this panic might have been significantly overdone. The contrast here is super fascinating. Yes, it's true China made up 29% of total sales. But even if China successfully produces those 20 domestic DUV machines by 2027, it would only impact about 1.4 billion euros in ASML sales. That is just 2.4% of ASML's projected revenue. Analysts are quick to point out that ASML's technical moat is incredibly vast, and there are still major doubts out there about the actual reliability and processing speed of these new domestic machines. So demand isn't just going to easily shift away from ASML's proven tech overnight. Which brings us to Section 5, expanding the global footprint by partnering with India. While navigating all of those international pressures, ASML is out there actively diversifying. In a strategic memorandum of understanding signed back in May 2026, ASML partnered with Tata Electronics to support the ramp-up of India's very first commercial 300mm semiconductor fabrication facility in Dholera, Gujarat. This move is huge because it gives ASML a massive foothold in a region that is aggressively working to build up its domestic manufacturing capabilities. And the sheer scale of this ambition is staggering. The total planned investment for this Dholera fab is $11 billion. To give you an idea of how significant this partnership was, India's Prime Minister actually witnessed the signing ceremony. It's a brilliant strategic move that positions ASML perfectly within what could very well be the world's next massive global semiconductor hub. Finally, let's wrap up with Section 6, securing the digital future through aggressive capacity scaling. So, the big question, how exactly does a company with a monopoly on the most vital technology in the world scale up to meet this world-changing tsunami of AI demand? Let's break down their manufacturing goals. Step 1. In 2026, ASML plans to ship 65 low-NA EUV systems and 130 immersion DUV systems. Step 2. They plan to increase both of those capacities by a whopping 30% in 2027. And Step 3, they're already evaluating yet another 30% capacity expansion for 2028. And honestly, the best part for their bottom line? They're achieving all these capacity increases super efficiently within their existing footprint. They're optimizing their current clean rooms, completely avoiding the massive capital expenditure of building entirely new facilities. Now, where is all this intense demand actually coming from? Well, the demand for AI chips is definitely not some narrow niche. It is driving massive investments across the board. We're talking 3, 4, and 5 nanometer logic nodes, ongoing 2 nanometer ramps, all the way down to early development planning for 1.4 nanometers. On top of that, memory-related net system sales are expected to grow by more than 75% in 2026 alone. Because of all this, ASML's order book for their low-NA EUV machines in 2027 is already close to being completely full. To tie everything we've looked at today together, despite any geopolitical noise or wild market fluctuations, the underlying reality remains totally unchanged. The AI revolution needs chips, and chips need ASML. They've built a massive technical moat, they have a completely full order book, and they have a very clear roadmap for scaling their capacity. They remain the undisputed, indispensable enabler of our digital future. Before we go, I want to leave you with one final, kind of provocative thought. What happens to the pace of human innovation when the entire AI revolution relies on a single Dutch company? It's a pretty fascinating question about the stakes of the global economy relying entirely on this one incredible technological choke point. Thank you so much for joining me in this explainer. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.